What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is Sunday, October 5th of 2025, which marks the end of the official Oktoberfest celebration in Munich, Germany. And to close out the festivities here on the channel, I'm reviewing yet another collaboration beer, this time between the Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, and they're out of both Chico, California, and Mills River, North Carolina, and Störtebeker, and they are out of Stralsund, Germany, and this is their Oktoberfest, the 2025 release. So this is a Festbier-style Oktoberfest that comes in at 6% alcohol by volume, 32 IBUs. At the time of review, this can is just over 2.5 months old. So we're closing out the Oktoberfest season with this Sierra Nevada offering that is an annual release at this point. The first time that I reviewed this on the channel was the first year of my channel, 2018. I also reviewed it in 2019, 2023, and last year in 2024. They did not release this one between 2020 and 2022. They just did their own Oktoberfest, but these annual collaborations with a German brewery, I love them. And in fact, I went to go and look at the prior four releases of this one to see which one I enjoyed the most. Well, in order for me, it goes 2024, 2023, 2018, and 2019. The funny thing is, the 2018 and 2019 versions are both Märzen-style Oktoberfest, and the last two, along with this one, are both Festbier-style Oktoberfest. And I've been saying it on my channel over the past couple years, but I like the Festbier-style more than the Märzen-style, and I think it really holds true with Sierra Nevada's collaboration Oktoberfest beers. So yeah, I'm really excited about this one. Störtebeker, I'm butchering all the pronunciation, all the pronunciations in this review when it comes to the German language, but they are the ones that are collaborating with Sierra Nevada this year. In the top right-hand corner of the video, you can click on it right now, and it'll take you to Sierra Nevada's video they did on their channel, which kind of talks about this one. The one thing that kind of confused me a little bit is they call this one a fest beer throughout the vast majority of the video, but one of the employees from Störtebeker literally says at the beginning of it, he said it's more of a Märzen lager this year. So I don't know if it kind of got, lost in translation, but everything I've seen about this one says fest beer this year. So anyway, we're going to pour it into the hashtag proper glassware from, a style standpoint. It's not a Sierra Nevada branded dimple mug, but this is what I've been using for most of the review. So I'm really stoked to give this one a go. Let's give it a pour. And because it's 12 ounces, I'm going to go a little bit more aggressive and try to get a decent sized head here and be able to maybe fit in the vast majority of the beer, which it looks like I have succeeded. And I'm very excited about that. So we'll throw this over here. And the last couple years, the label's been the same, where it was different in the bottles, but when they switched over to the cans, basically it's the same label every year, just with a different brewery. That looks fantastic. If you're talking about a Festbier-style lager, yes, it has this honey golden color, a little bit of this like richer kind of orange kind of vibe to it. 2 fingers of a straight up, I'd say like an ivory / bone white kind of colored head. Very beautiful looking, a little bit of like a soap sudsy look, but for the most part, looks very creamy, very appeasing. And the clarity is there as well. As you can see my hand through the other side, good carbonation. It plays the role of an Oktoberfest beer of some sort. Definitely looks more like a fest beer, which it supposedly is. Let's get a nose. Ooh. Now this is just over 2.5 months old. The one thing I will say about Oktoberfest beers and pumpkin beers and just seasonal beers as a whole, this can go for any season really, but I think more people notice them with Oktoberfest and pumpkin beers is that these usually get released in honestly, July, August. This one was canned on July 10th and probably hit the markets a week or two after. Listen, I don't mind drinking Oktoberfest in July and August. Pumpkin beers, no way. I don't want to touch pumpkin beer until September. And for me personally, I don't really start drinking them until October and in November. But the one downside is that when you want to drink these in September into October, they're usually significantly older. And that's from American brewery. Just think about the German breweries who are kicking these out. They're brewing them pretty much in the spring, and then they ship them over here, and they show up in July and August. And by the time you're starting to drink them in September, October, some of them are 5, 6, 7 months old. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I don't know. It's a little bit of a mini rant, but it is what it is. Yeah, it has a slight toasted kind of grain quality, toasted bread, biscuity, Maybe even a little of that like pretzel kind of vibe I'm getting a little bit this year. Like a honey drizzled like biscuit, toasted biscuit. I've said that I think on one other Oktoberfest this year. The one thing I'm noticing, even just a little over 2.5 months old, this has a little bit more hop character. They did say they changed up like the hop process, how they wanted like layer flavors to it. The layered flavors in here, big floral aspect to me. Very floral. Floral has that like spiciness you associate with like a noble hop. Some earthiness. A little bit of a sulfuric kind of like lager funk. Man, that floral spiciness is really cool. It's almost like you had like a honey drizzled biscuit with like a little bit of like a cracked pepper on it or something in that realm. It smells definitely balanced, but it has a bigger hop character. And I've seen most of my friends really dig this year's offering. However, I've seen a couple say, not really doing it for them. And a couple of those people really said it was a little bit too hop forward for them for the style. Now again, this is a Festbier style, has a little bit more hop character than a Märzen, still should be balanced. This smells awesome though. This smells like I could drink a lot of it. So let's get into it. Cheers everybody, and Prost. Oh my God, is that so easy to drink? Listen, I like this. Once again, this is me. I love, it has such a big dryness on the finish. It has a nice mild to moderate bitterness right off that first sip. Yeah, this is good. Body's a bit thinner, I've noticed, after those 2 sips based on some of the other ones I've drank this year. It's 6% too, so it's like one of the bigger fest beers I've had. It definitely has more of like a lower side of medium body to me. The mouthfeel is awesome. Maybe a touch softer than anticipated, but still has a nice crispness. I'd say moderately carbonated. Smooth on the second half of the palate. So body and mouthfeel are not like over the top, ridiculously amazing, but it's kind of right in the wheelhouse for what I'm looking for out of this kind of style in this beer specifically, and I'm here for it. The taste, the nose carried over for the most part. Right up front, complex to me, maltiness, but there is this like, and I don't get this often. I usually get the malt character up front and then the hop character on the finish. Sometimes the malt will sneak up on the back of the palate. And sometimes, for me, the hops will hit right tip of the tongue and spread out through the sides of the tongue. And that's what's happening here. I get this like pop of like floral spiciness right at the forefront, like a tip of tongue, and it kind of peters out. And then the malt comes in, waves of toasted bread, toasted biscuit, a little bit of that pretzel vibe, honey drizzle on top. Not really any caramel toffee, but it's more of that like honey kind of character. And then after that, I get a touch of an orchard fruit, which I didn't mention in the nose, a little bit of like a red apple skin. It has almost like a wildflower honey, where it has more of a floral honey kind of characteristic as it hits like midway through the palate to the back of the palate. On the finish, though, big floral vibes. It definitely has that cracked pepper, spicy kind of noble hop note, a little bit of an earthiness, maybe even a touch of grassiness. Finishes bone dry with a mild to moderate bitterness. This is a little bit more dry and bitter than some of the other fest beers I've had in recent memory, whether it's this year or the past couple years, which I think I'm really here for. I'm kind of in my West Coast IPA phase. What does that mean? I'm just wanting more dry and bitter beers. And I like, hop bombs that produce that. This isn't a hop bomb. This is a fest beer, but it really does lean a little bit more dry and bitter than it does sweet. But I could still drink a shit ton of this. 6%, again, on the bigger side of the ones you see in the U.S., whether it's a Märzen or a fest beer, 6% is probably in the realm of what they would serve over in aforementioned Munich, Germany, Oktoberfest, but you don't see it as often here in the U.S. It's usually Märzen. So another good Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest collaboration. Like, what more is to say? What more is there to say about this one? Every year, or at least over the past 3 years, or the past 2 years and this year. So we'll say the last 3 releases, they've been very consistent. They've been fest beers. They've been tasty. They've been balanced. It's Sierra Nevada, and they know what they're doing from a brewing aspect, and they're tasty. 6%, you can't tell outside of, again, knowing that this is a fest beer and the flavors would indicate 6%. But the lighter body, if you told me this was like 5.3 or something, 5.5, I'd say sure, 6% is fine. Now, how do I compare this to the last couple offerings that were fest beers? I don't know. I think I like last year's a little bit better, and that's just off the top of the dome piece. Like I said, I went back to look at the ratings for all of them, and I think I gave last year's a 4.35, the year before a 4.3, the 2018 was I think it was a 4, and then the 2019 was a 3.75. This would get right in the range of the last two. It's different in that it has a little bit more hop character. I really like that honey kind of, almost wildflower honey kind of vibe. There's no real sulfuric kind of taste on the palate, but it does have a big, like, again, grainy, bready, just huge malt character that is balanced out. So I'm going to give the Oktoberfest 2025 release from Sierra Nevada and Störtebeker, I'm going to give this, we'll go, 4.3 out of 5. I think that's where I'll land it. 4.3 out of 5 seems like a fair score. I think slightly under last year, but maybe a little bit better or just as good as 2023. But really nice collab as always. I think this is going to be a beer that I review every single year, kind of like their Celebration Ale that I try to review, or like Lagunitas Born Yesterday and Waldo's. I try to review certain beers. At least this changes each year because it's a collab. So I'm going to try to review it going forward every single year, assuming they keep this collaboration series up. And anyway, price point availability, and here in the Buffalo, New York area, $11.99 6-pack, a 12-pack. Probably in that $18 to $20 realm. I know there's some like coupons and like rebates and stuff you can get with their beers actually throughout the year, and this probably is one of those beers. So if you want this beer, you can probably get it. Sierra Nevada is in most states, I believe, maybe every single state, at least in the continental USA. And yeah, this is their main fall seasonal, so you should be able to see it from a I would say price point availability, from availability standpoint. You should be able to see it, and if not, I don't know. But by the time I post this, pumpkin beers are like winter beers are going to be out in like a week or two. Like, it's insane. As we speak right now, I bet you there's winter beers. Like, you'll see this on the 5th. There's probably winter beers already out, like Christmas beers. So whatever. If you do see this hanging out on the shelves, though, grab it, especially if you like the last two releases. If you're more of a Märzen fan, or somebody who likes a more of a rich, kind of deeper malt character without any decent hop kind of bite to kind of balance everything out, then the Festbier style probably isn't for you. But I'd still recommend at least trying a can if you can. So if you've had this beer before, and I know a lot of you have probably already drank a bunch of this so far this year, please post a comment section. Let me know what you thought about it. How do you think it compares to specifically the last two releases, which were also Festbier style beers? Again, I would say at this point, 2024, 2025, 2023, that'd be the order in which I would place them. But it's all by like 0.05, 0.1. Like, they're all in that same realm. I do think this has a beautiful balance, but it does have a little bit more dryness and bitterness, which I think I'm here for. Incredibly clean beer and just delicious. So that does it for the Oktoberfest reviews during the official Oktoberfest celebration in Munich, Germany. However, I'm going to review at least one other Oktoberfest, maybe a couple, but at least one other. It'll be the Great Lakes Oktoberfest. They were nice enough to send it my way, so I'll probably post it in the next week or two. Be on the lookout for that. I haven't had that beer since, I think, 2018, so it's going to be a 7 years in the making of retrying that one. Used to be one of my favorite Oktoberfests when I reviewed in 2018. I didn't really care for it as much. I gave it a 3.5. It was okay. So I'll be curious to see what I think about that, especially now that I like fest beers, and that is definitely a Märzen. So anyway, I'm shutting this one down. Appreciate it. To the next one. Cheers. Prost.